Welcome to Seeking Alpha's CEO Interviews. Quality of leadership is a decisive factor in stock performance, so we provide in-depth interviews with the best and brightest CEOs in the public markets. We publish limited excerpts from our interviews on social media platforms and the full interviews at seekingalpha.com and in the highly rated Seeking Alpha mobile app. To find the full interviews, open seekingalpha.com or the Seeking Alpha mobile app and search for the phrase CEO Interviews, or simply type a stock ticker into the search box.
Welcome to Seeking Alpha. I'm your host, Jesse Redmond. Today, I'm joined by Tal Hayek, CEO of AcuityAds. Tal, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk about the company, but I'm interested in learning a little bit more about you first. Can you share a bit about your background and how you got involved in the advertising space?
I'll be happy to, of course. So I started back in around 2004. I started in the affiliate marketing side of the business. For me, it feels like it's the school to get me into that business. And 2 years later, sold my company, did very well, stayed on. I mean, my company went from 7 million to 140 million in revenue in 2 years. So investors were obviously very happy and the stock went through the roof. And took a little bit of time off. And in 2009, went to see a friend of mine. His name is Dr. Nathan McCuzy, as a PhD in algorithm and AI. And we started talking about the concept of creating a trading platform for digital ads. And that's around the time that Acuity was born.
And what was it that drew you to wanting to create a platform like that? Were you personally interested? Did you feel like there was a big opportunity in the horizon, or what was the catalyst for that?
So first, I really like the ad tech space and the advertising space. I thought it's obviously growing and it's going to be replacing back then it was just an assumption. It's going to be replacing the traditional advertising. The TV is going to go away and all that. Today is obviously easy because it's a reality. But that's what drew me. And then when we started thinking about, okay, there's a situation here that all the digital marketing is being done in a very manual kind of way. And this is just about to automate, and we can make it based on AI and based on measured ROI, deliver something concrete like that to advertisers. For me, that was the next level. So that's what really got me excited.
And do you have a background on the technical side in terms of on the computer coding side, or are you just more big picture visionary?
Yeah, it's more big picture visionary. I mean, I did go to school, to university, and I did take computer science, but I never coded in my life. So it's for me, it was straight to business.
And let's jump into talking about Acuity a bit. Let's say we hadn't met before and I was interested in what you do, and I just said, tell me about AcuityAds. How would you describe the business?
Well, I'd say AcuityAd is what's known as a DSP, or a demand side platform. We are in the programmatic advertising space. This is a space that started about 10 years ago, 11 years ago now. It went from 0 to about 110 billion in revenue so far. And the prediction is that it's going to expand to, the whole industry is going to expand to about $1 trillion, and the majority of it is going to be transacted programmatically. So that's the type of industry we're in. But what is programmatic marketing is the process of buying and selling digital ad units in an auction-based system, all done in real time. So in reality, what happens is we go through billions of transactions every day. It's really bid requests coming into our system, and we have an algorithm that determines what is the right price to pay for buying those ad placement. And it's always keeps in mind that he wants to deliver a positive ROI for the advertisers on it. So highly measured in real time.
And so if I'm someone like Toyota or any major company, I'm interested in doing digital advertising, what are my options and what would I like about Acuity versus the traditional options?
So I would say that in the past, digital advertising used to be done in a manual kind of way. So if you're Toyota and you wanted to advertise on, let's say, websites, you would have to talk to 100 different websites and have contracts with 100 different websites and get billing from 100 different websites. It would be more like there was a premium sales force on the publisher side that talks to the people at the brand or the agencies. Now, what's happening today is because we are already connected to millions of publishers, everything is accessible on the Acuity system. So by just having one contract, one relationship, in our system, your ads are going to show up in millions of different publishers, whether it's website or connected TV ads or radio ads or mobile devices. It's all connected, and the decision is being done by the AI about where to place your ad, and it's all driven by ROI. So by the signals we get about the return on investment.
And is there anything particularly interesting or special about your AI platform?
I think so. There's two things. First of all, we've always known to be that AI platform that delivers the best ROI. And that's been a reputation throughout the years. But I think the biggest part for us is we launched a new platform to market in Q4 of 2020. It's called illumin, and illumin is changing the world of advertising. And I'll tell you one thing, that programmatic came in and fixed a big problem on the transactional piece 11 years ago. We turned an industry or a market that was doing everything manually to fully automated, and we do billions of transactions a day, all done by AI. And that was great. But the last 11 years, we haven't seen any innovation until we launched illumin to market. And illumin solves a problem that was never solved before. The biggest problem that we have today in our industry is the way that marketers think and the way and plan their campaign is completely disconnected from the way that programmatic gets executed. And I'll explain. Marketers plan a campaign thinking consumer journey, meaning that this is where the consumer is on the journey, and these are the ads we want to show them depending on where they are on the journey. To be more specific, they usually divide it into three different areas. There's the engagement piece, and there's the awareness piece, engagement piece, and then the conversion piece. And it's so important for them to send different messages along the way. But what happens is they now send it to their agency or their execution team, and that team takes it and puts it in the black box. And the black box doesn't have the ability to execute on the consumer journey. It's very good in executing and delivering ROI on simple line items, but just doesn't have the capability to tell the consumer journey. So I always like to give the example of how we came up with the idea of illumin, even because it was just over 4 years ago when I wanted to run an IR campaign and I wanted to reach investors. But we all know so well that you cannot just send a message to like a banner to investor and say, buy the Acuity shares. It doesn't work that way. You have to first create a campaign to make them aware of the fact that Acuity exists. After they're aware, then you need to engage them. So tell them more about the story. And after you told them more about the story, this is the time to go with the call to action types of creatives and get people to buy the shares. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess for us, is our marketing team informed me that there's no systems out there that's capable of doing that, which I was amazed. I'm like, if I, as a very small advertiser, a very specific advertiser, I'm thinking that way, I'm sure the big brands are thinking that way. And we started doing research, and we've seen that everybody is talking consumer journey, but there's no ability to activate it. And I mean, only manually, but there's no system out there that will activate it for you. So then that's when we decided to build illumin, and we launched it to market in Q4 of last year. And I'm happy to say that the adoption is happening even better than I expected. You know, what our expectations were that it's a new product to market, it's new concept, and it will take, you know, we thought the sales cycle is going to be longer. It will take until mid-2021 before we see revenue on it. You know, to our great surprise, we saw in Q4, we already saw 1.5 million running on it. In Q1 of this year, we saw 3.2 million, and in Q2, we already saw 5.2 million running it. So the adoption is happening very fast. I think even more exciting than that, the type of I would say a reaction we're getting when we show it is amazing. Like the conversations we're having today, these are conversations with the biggest brands out there that would never even talk to us before. And now they're coming to us because of illumin. So we're very excited about what's happening.
And what is it that you think is driving these big platforms to appreciate illumin's value? What are the specific characteristics? I think it's a little more empowering to the end user. Is that accurate?
So it's more empowering to the brands because they can control the message they're sending to the consumers, and they can control it in each step of the way. And it's also depending on what the consumers are doing, that's when they make a decision what's the next message to show them. So every consumer will have a one-to-one kind of conversation, or more, almost like a trigger-based system. So it depends where the consumer is and what their action is, you show them the next messages. So that's very powerful. Again, we call it controlling the consumer journey, but there's many ways of calling it. And I think the second part is that on the traditional system, even with our legacy system, you need to be a highly trained expert in order to know how to set up campaigns. It will take you hours to set up a campaign. And with illumin, because it's a drag and drop, very intuitive system, without any experience, it will take you, any average person, and minutes to set up a campaign. So that also allows brands to bring it in-house when they don't have the expertise for it.
And I'm not an advertising expert by any means. Can you explain the term customer journey and exactly what that means?
Yeah, so consumer journey, for me, I guess, it's the journey that the consumer is in the touch points with the brand from beginning until the time that they purchase. And then even after, because it's still a consumer. So think about, I'll give you an example. Purple Mattress is one of our clients. That's not, a mattress is not something that people used to buy online by any means, right? This is something that started in recent years. Now, they have an amazing product, an amazing mattress, but how do you do that when you're a direct-to-consumer brand? You're competing against major brands that's been in the industry for many, many years, and now it's like a new company like Purple Mattress. So how do they do it? They have to think about the consumer journey. So the first part is how do we make the consumers aware that we exist and what our offer is, right? So this is the awareness part. And this is where you start sending the kind of messages to the consumers to make them become aware. And once they've seen the messages a few times and they know that Purple Mattress exists, now it's time to engage them. So more video content, showing the ads, showing what are the features, what are the benefits of the mattress itself. So kind of telling the story. And then the third piece is once you're aware of it and you're engaged with it, now it's the call to action. So now this is time to send maybe a coupon for a discount or promotion or something like along those lines, and to bring the consumer in to make a purchase. So that is, in a nutshell, the majority of it. But of course, after a person bought the mattress, that's not where it ends. It's still a consumer. You still can, first of all, you want to make sure that they're happy and communicate with them. But also, they're going to buy future mattresses in the future, and there's other things that you can sell to them as well. So then after I bought a mattress, I would be put in a bit different bucket and would become an existing customer that you can upsell to, you can cross-sell to, you can just keep them happy for a next purchase and so forth.
And is illumin the future of Acuity, or do you plan on maintaining the core solutions, and this is just an additional, perhaps more affordable with more control type solution?
I think illumin is the future of all programmatic, to be honest with you. But when we talk about Acuity only, we don't see a reason to manage two different platforms. Illumin still uses the same AI that the old legacy system uses. So some of the components are the same, but our plan is, I would imagine by the end of 2022 to sunset the old system and to move everybody to illumin. But right now we're fully concentrating on bringing in new logos to the companies, new customers to use it. And then next year we'll start the second part of the second phase of that.
Have you received any negative feedback for illumin, or any improvements that you feel like you need to work on to make it an even better product?
We never received any negative feedback. It's only excitement that we receive for it, but we do receive feedback about how to make it better all the time. I think we're on the 6th or 7th iteration by now. I would say it's normal. Think about We made a lot of assumptions when we built it. We didn't have any experience, and nobody had any experience with any systems like it. So as we start running campaigns on it, and we watch the customers, we watch how they use it, and it comes back to product, and we always make tweaks and improvement. It doesn't even look like the same product that we launched to alpha just about a year ago. So I'm very happy about the fact that we're improving it all the time. Think about the iPhone 1 when it launched and the iPhone 12 where it is today. It's like night and day. And the only reason is because of the experience you get by running it and improving it all the time.
And is it accurate to say that for the same budget, an illumin user may get the same number of impressions, but potentially a much higher click-through rate?
So we don't really measure click-through rate as the ROI. We want to really measure hard results. So either conversion or return on ad spend and things like that. And every campaign would be different, depends on what they're trying to achieve. Look, sometimes the spend per the media is going to be higher, sometimes going to be lower. This is not so relevant. For me, it's all about the ROI. And the ROI is higher on illumin because you are able to control the journey itself versus the way it's being done today by the black boxes. It's all about repeating the same message over and over again. So it's way more efficient to do it with the consumer journey. We've gone through a case study that we ran here at the company for Purple Mattress. And what we've done is we ran a campaign. We took a campaign and we ran half of it, parts of it. I don't know if it was exactly half, but parts of it in illumin as a connected journey. And the other part is the conversion only piece, which is more aligned with what other DSPs are doing. And we saw many things. The most exciting part was the average order size was about 20% higher on the illumin side. So ROI naturally went up significantly. And you were able to do it with more scale too, because you're not just relying on the conversion side, which is more limited people. You're going out there and making new people aware of it. So you're able to scale the campaign much higher. And that's usually means when you scale a campaign in our industry, it usually means lower ROI. And with illumin, we were able to receive higher ROI with more scale. So that's very big.
And who are your customers? Who's benefiting from this type of solution? Is it generally the big Fortune 500 type companies, or is it appropriate for smaller businesses?
Today, it's mostly the bigger brands out there, definitely. It's the ones that are spending more online. But because illumin is so intuitive and so easy to use, I see this in the future that would go to like small to medium-sized businesses. Look, we're saying we're democratizing the space, just like Shopify did for e-commerce. And if you remember years ago, you needed to call an expert to book an airline ticket, and today we can all do it from home, and it's because it's so intuitive and easy to do. This is the promise of illumin. So I see no reason when we have enough time to go to it, and it's the right strategic time, which I think it's going to be sometimes next year. To start going after that market.
What is it just a resource issue? Because it seems like for example, my parents owned a flight school for a long time when I was growing up, and they were always trying to figure out advertising things, and they spent a bunch of money on radio ads and a bunch of other things that didn't work. And is there a reason? Is it just not compelling economically to go down market, or is it more of a resource issue in terms of trying to tackle all the smaller businesses?
I think it's a complete shift in focus, because our whole like I said, the whole company is now built to go after the bigger clients and the bigger spenders, and to shift the kind of mindset to go after the customers who want to spend $50, $60, $100 a month without talking to you, without touching, without all that. It's a completely different way of running the org, and I think there's a huge case to do it from a business standpoint, because it's a wide open space. Nobody solved that issue yet. But we need to be prepared for it. We need to be prepared to make the investments for it. And we don't really today have the expertise in-house to do it, that have that. But we will eventually.
Let's talk a little bit about the competition. How do businesses like the Trade Desk and Magnite compare to your solution?
So Magnite is on the supply side. So they're a supply side platform or an ad exchange. They're actually one of our vendors. We're their customers. We work together. They're a great company. We like them. They like us. And they're in the same industry, but not a competitor at all. And the Trade Desk is a competitor. We still like them, and they still like us. We work together on all the time. I mean, for me, the biggest differentiator is illumin. So illumin is the only one of its kind that's capable of doing a consumer journey the way that we're doing it. And that obviously gives us major advantage and differentiation out there in the market.
And I wanted to define a couple of terms here that might help investors. Can you define the term online display advertising?
Online display advertising refers to banner ads.
Okay. And where are these appearing?
Usually on websites. So you would have, let's say if you load a website, let's say you go to CNN.com, you see a website on the right side, on the top side, you're going to see like long banner ads or site scrapers, what we call them, would be one. If you're scrolling through articles, sometimes they appear in the middle of the article. So that's along the line of display ads. It could be on your mobile device as well, same thing. Then there's video ads, which is mostly pre-rolls, what we call. So it rolls before some kind of a video content that you're going to load. There's usually a 15-second spot. And that's video pre-rolls. And then you got CTV, connected TV. So that's when you're watching TV in a digital kind of mean, and you're seeing ads on your TV. So those are some of the types of creatives that we serve out there.
And do you think it's fair to say that Acuity is a way to invest in the growth of e-commerce and streaming TV?
We're clearly been a big part of the growth of e-commerce. I mean, look, the pandemic hit and everybody paused for a second and we didn't know what's going to happen. But very quickly, a couple of months after, we started seeing all the advertisers flocking to us and to programmatic. And the reason was because traditionally, it was very hard for them to measure the results of advertising. And with programmatic, you can measure it in real time. So now that you have to do things smarter and you need to be able to measure results quickly, programmatic is the way to go, and Acuity is the way to go. So I do believe that as e-commerce is progressing, Acuity is progressing as well, because that's how do you reach the consumers through a programmatic system. And so yeah, I do believe that. But it's not just specific to e-commerce. I think, look, our business lost about 30% of its revenue because of travel, hospitality, and it went away when COVID hit. We still haven't seen it come back, but we were able to replace more than what we had before. And we're looking forward for the time that comes back. We should be able to see a nice uptick in there as well. But there's many industries that are doing extremely well under these conditions.
What are those industries, out of curiosity?
Anything from e-commerce to pharma, insurance, finance, auto is doing great.
Let's talk a little bit about making money. How would you explain the business model of Acuity to investors? How are you making money? How do you charge for the services?
I think you say you buy low and sell high, right? That's
that's what they tell me.
The business concept. Yeah, but so we buy all the media that we buy for our clients. So let's say a brand comes to, let's say you started with Toyota. So let's say Toyota comes to us and say, here's $1 million campaign to run for us. We would book that as our revenue, and then we make a margin on the media. So we buy media for them, and we make a certain percentage on it. The average that we do is about 50% margin. And so we book the media that we buy as cost of sales. Some people in our industry refer to it as our take rate. Our take rate is 50%, or gross margin is 50%. And then obviously we have our SG&A expenses under that.
And you talked a little bit about COVID-19, and I want to just chat a bit more about it because in reading the risk sections of your documents, that seems to be the one that came up over and over again. You mentioned that, can you talk a little bit more about how it did impact your business, where you are now, and concerns moving forward? So for a while, it seems like we felt we were maybe on the right side of this, and now with the Delta variants, it feels like things might be headed, unfortunately, in the other direction. Can you talk about how it's impacting you, where you are now, and your level of concern going forward?
So the level of concern back in April of last year was extremely high. I mean, we lost close to 40% of our revenue overnight, and we didn't know if we were even going to have a business in a few weeks. So that was challenging time, and I would say that I'm very proud of the executive team of Acuity for not losing their mind and starting firing people, and there was a lot of pressure to do that, by the way. From news all around you and from board of directors and competitors in the space as well. But we decided to take the approach of we will evaluate things on a daily basis, and we will look at the numbers, and we will, manage temporary solutions until such time that we know what's going on, and we're going to try not to lose money in the process, which was a very smart move because April was bad. By May, we saw a major comeback, and by Q3, we were pre-COVID levels. And I think as things progress, everybody in the world now understand that programmatic actually there's an advantage for the programmatic industry under the pandemic situation. Now, we always had that advantage because naturally people were moving from the traditional way of doing marketing to ROI-driven approach. And I think it's just accelerated it. So people had to do it. And I just think we're not worried about anything to do with obviously nobody knows what's going to happen in the world, but it seems like the COVID situations from a pure financial and business side of things only helped Acuity.
And we've seen a sharp increase recently in SPACs and IPOs in the space. Names like AdTheorent, Innovid, Taboola, Outbrain, and more. Do you see that as a bullish indicator or perhaps more bearish as competition could be increasing?
I think we always had lots of companies in our space. We had thousands of companies. Now it's down to probably a few dozens that are left and are doing it well. And I think it's great. I mean, they were operating before privately. Now they're operating on the public side of things. And it's like anything else. The company, like when there's a new industry that opens up, there's lots of players, there's lots of investment. And enough years later, the ones that are able to do it efficiently, profitably, without buying their market share, are the ones that are standing, and I think that's what we're seeing. So I actually think it's great. I mean, up to very recently, we only had one comp, and so now we have some more. So that's good.
And most of us are paying for more subscriptions to channels or platforms these days, rather than getting a cable bill like when I was a kid. Now we're getting more a la carte type services, things like Disney Plus, HBO, et cetera. And it could be, initially, it sounds great because you're like, oh, rather than paying $60 or $100 for cable, I'll pay $10 or $15 in a la carte these. But
now
it can be
paying $200 or $300, and
yeah,
that's
right.
a different story, right?
Yeah, it can be surprising how these add up every month, especially if you have kids. And on the other side of this are ad-supported video on demand, things like CNN Plus, where rather than paying for subscriptions that limit ads you see, the ads are paying for the service. How do you see these two models competing, and how does that outcome impact Acuity?
I believe in the ad-supported model to be the successful one. Look at Google. I mean, they've been ad-supported from the time they were born, and see how successful they are. So I do believe in that. I do believe that the majority of the internet is being subsidized today by ads. I'm not talking about video like TV right now, but TV is adopting to the way the internet is. When Netflix was around and it was $10 a month, it was great. But now that you have to pay, I don't know, I probably have 5, 6, 7 of them. I don't know, I probably pay over $100 with the music, probably over $200. and I'm not getting the same as I got from cable before. I'm still not getting the live sports and all that. So then there's a problem. And you look at Netflix, and you can see financially they're not, turning profits. They're still struggling with that. So I do think that you will have to. There's going to be two models, and there's going to be hybrid models, but I do think that the successful ones are going to be ad supported. I also think there's going to be a downward pressure on the amount of money that somebody like Netflix can charge, because if I, as a consumer, at the end of the day, need to get a solution for $50 or $60 all in, and there's way more player now than around, then can Netflix justify getting $10 a month? I think there's going to be downward pressure on the prices, and they're going to have to supplement it with ads.
And third-party cookies have been helpful for targeting ad viewers and measuring results, but they appear to be on their way out. How does the dynamic impact your business?
So third-party cookies, great question. It's been something that never was designed to do the tracking that it's doing today. Kind of fell into it. So it's not perfect for tracking, but it works. The internet doesn't work without it. So it has to be there. And by the time we, as an industry, replace it with some kind of an alternative, we strongly believe that the universal ID is going to be replacing it. As you know, Google made an announcement, what is it, a year and a half ago, that they're going to kill third-party cookies, which they then went back on it and said, well, not for another, I think, 2023, and maybe. The pure fact is that because advertisers are the ones that are paying for content online, and we don't have an infrastructure ready to replace the third-party cookies, they have to wait until it's there. But by now, we have the infrastructure. So we all work together as an industry. We worked with our suppliers, with our customers, and with our competitors. We work together with the trade desk on a solution for universal ID. So whichever universal ID is going to win at the end, we are connected to a few of them, and we'll connect to the rest of them as well. But that's a much better solution than a third-party cookies, and we believe it's only going to upgrade the situation.
And you recently uplisted to the NASDAQ. Can you talk a little bit about how that process was, and can you share the benefits you see of being listed on a major exchange?
So a lot of people ask me, so what's going to happen when you move to the NASDAQ? Is the stock going to go up? Or I'm like, look, we're not going on the NASDAQ, and we don't think it's going to go up overnight. We're going on the NASDAQ because we have a very, very good story to tell, especially with illumin and what we're doing there. Most of our revenue is in the US, and we want to be able to tell the story to the US investors and to a larger audience, which is exactly our intention to do for the rest of the year, going out and telling the story. And I know we all know that it takes a few quarters of proving yourself before the major investors get in, and we've gone through that in the Toronto Stock Exchange, and we're going to do the same thing here. It's all about going out, telling the story, coming back to the next quarter, and tell the story again, and people see that you're doing what you said you're going to do, and it takes a few quarters, and then you start seeing the demand for the stock go up. So that's what I would say. That's our job now. I mean, from a business perspective, I think we're delivering great results. We have the potential to change the world with illumin, and the proof points are coming in every quarter. And then it's up to us to go out and tell the story and spread the world around to US investors and beyond. And that's definitely going to be a big focus in the next few months.
You recently closed the issuance of 5.7 million shares for the gross proceeds of $57.5 million. What was the catalyst for raising the money, and what are the plans with the proceeds?
So the company is profitable. It's cash flow positive. So essentially, we didn't really need the money. So the reasons to take this, first of all, if you want to go on the NASDAQ, you need the support of the street. So that was important to do that. And so now we have very good analyst coverage, and we have banks covering us, and I think that was important. The second thing is M&A. So we do believe that there's a place here for M&A, and there's companies that are in the same industry that are having a lot of duplicate expenses, mostly related to the technology, that when we unite companies like that, we can remove that technology and make it highly, highly profitable. Also, the illumin story is just in the beginning of the product roadmap, as we can add more of the features that we want to build into illumin from an M&A point of view and do it faster and comes with revenue. We would like to do that as well. So I think
are there any particular types of businesses that interest you from an acquisition perspective?
So I would say, so in the programmatic space is something that we can use the financial model and the leverage on the financial model. Or if you are in the digital marketing space that's not programmatic, but we can add it to the illumin side. Examples could be search marketing, or could be influencer marketing, or email marketing, or even social marketing. So those are some of the examples I can think of that could be integrated into the consumer journey. That's something that we'd be interested in as well.
And as we wind down, we've painted a pretty optimistic picture. It sounds like you're in an exciting space that's growing the window in your sales from that perspective. You have an exciting new solution that's getting a lot of traction. But I'm curious about the other side of things, and I'm curious, what concerns do you worry about? What could go wrong here? What are the negatives that keep you up at night?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question that a lot of investors are asking me, and I'm saying you're asking the wrong person. People in this company will tell you that we're always going after the dreams, and we only have that dream in our mind when we go after it. And obviously we have people in the company to think about risks and things like that. It's just not me. We're here to make the impossible happen. At the end of the day, this company started by 4 people in a very small room, and without any outside investment, and bootstrapped to places that we overachieved on any parts of our dream. So that's what we're here for. We're here to dream and to change the world. And with the launch of illumin, that's exactly what we needed, and that's what we're all about executing, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. And for me, failure is not even an option to enter into my mind.
Well, this has been fantastic. Best of luck moving forward, and thanks for joining us on Seeking Alpha.
Well, thanks for having me.